of Jimmie Allen.
And now, on with Jimmie Allen's air adventures. Jimmie has been hoping against hope he will be accepted by the Monsoon Company to fly their entry in the annual transcontinental race for the Vanderpool Trophy. Speed Robertson, famed airmail and racing pilot, recommended his chum to the Monsoon officials. They replied, asking Jimmie to report at once to their factory, prepared to fly the Monsoon 800 in the race. With a few words of encouragement from Speed, the young pilot hurried east to take his first big flying assignment. Now we find ourselves in the office of Mr. E.J. Thompson, president of the Monsoon Aircraft Engine Company. He has just called for his chief engineer, Bill Whitehead, designer of the Monsoon 800.
Come in.
You sent for me, Mr. Thompson?
Yes, Bill, I did. Have a chair.
Yes, sir.
Well, how's our race job coming along?
Oh, it's all set, Chief. Our boys have checked over everything, and all we need now is a pilot to fly it.
How does the engine turn up, Bill?
Oh, it's great. Shows 1,800 on the box, and with the prop set the way it is, we wouldn't want anything better.
Well, I'm very glad to hear that. We're right up against the deadline anyway. Because we're not giving our pilot much time to run any tests he might consider necessary.
We've given this engine every possible test that I ever heard of, Chief. We've ran it on the blocks for 500 hours without stopping. We've checked it with all kinds of fuel, run it in cold temperatures and scorching hot weather.
I know that, Bill. It's the strongest piece of machinery that has ever hung in an airplane.
Yes, and it has power, too, E.J. Well, look at that dynamometer test we made. I'll bet in all of your experience in engine building, you never saw such power developed for the weight.
Yeah, you're right. It has power. Worlds of power. And believe me, that's what it takes in these modern racing planes. The most conservative estimate which we have made public shows 800 horsepower.
You're too modest, Chief. I always said that. Now, sir, this Monsoon, when she's winding up around 2,400 and with that supercharger in her, well, she's kicking up so close to 1,000 horsepower that it just isn't funny.
Bill, that's the sweetest music I ever listened to. Those 18 cylinders barking out a symphony of thundering power. I'll tell you, there's nothing like it in the world.
That's right. You can't beat it.
No, here I am going all somewhere on a tangent. Let's get down to business. We haven't much time. You're perfectly satisfied with the job, are you, Bill?
I really am, Chief, yes. Bring on your pilot.
Fine. Our pilot will be here any minute. He just arrived in town and phoned me. He's on his way out here now.
Well, sir, we'll turn over a great airplane to him and a wonderful engine. I don't think there'd be anything in that race that can touch it, Chief.
Well, I hope you're right, Bill. But I'm wondering.
You mean about the ship?
Yeah. I'm wondering if it is the fastest job in that race.
What makes you say that, Chief?
Well, there are 12 entries in that race, including our own. 11 without us. Well, that 11, there are 9 that don't bother me at all. Some good ships, yes, and good engines. And they'll be flown by crack pilots. But they're not in the same class with our job.
I agree with you there, E.J. We've just too much speed and power for them.
But there are 2 airplanes in this race, Bill, that I am worried about. I don't mind telling you that I've had a few sleepless nights thinking about those 2 ships.
I guess I know the 2 you mean, all right. Speed Robertson's Bluebird Special and the Mercury Mystery Ship.
I guess you've been thinking a little about them, too, eh?
Well, Chief, it'd be okay with me if they weren't in the race, I can tell you that.
Well, I don't feel that way about it, Bill. Naturally, I want our ship to win. It's got to win. But we don't want an empty victory. We want to beat the best in the country.
And you're wondering if our job is the best, huh?
Speed Robertson is a brand new ship with lots of power. And anything Speed has is going to be fast. Very fast. And he's the greatest racing pilot that ever slipped on a pair of goggles. I wish we had him.
There's no getting around that, E.J. It's my opinion that if we can beat Speed, we'll win this race.
I'm not so sure. Don't underrate this mystery ship.
I haven't been able to get much dope on it.
Well, the Mercury people have developed a new engine similar to ours. They'll have it in this new ship of theirs. And, Bill, they'll move heaven and earth to win.
Chief, I've spent 2 years developing this new engine of ours, and the Monsoon Company has a lot of money invested in it. It's the greatest aircraft motor in the world today.
I know, Bill. I believe every word you say. You've done a remarkable piece of work. I don't think the Mercury Company can build the same quality of engine you do. They just don't put the care and workmanship into their product. Their engines don't stand up like ours. The records prove that. But, Bill, they have some smart men in that company and a lot of money back of it. And as I just told you, they'll leave no stone unturned to win the Vanderpool Cup.
Mm-hmm. They're a tricky bunch, too. You know that as well as I.
Bill, I'm going to tell you something in the strictest confidence. It's something I learned just recently, but I kept it to myself. Because I didn't want to bother you with business matters while you were busy working on the ship.
Well, go ahead, Chief. Anything you tell me won't go any further.
It's of the utmost importance that our monsoon engine wins the Vanderpool Trophy. And I'll tell you why. The officials of National Airways are going to place an order for 500 new aircraft engines.
Yeah?
They must do this to meet the faster airmail schedules required by the government. And they're waiting to see what engine stands up under the grueling test of the transcontinental race.
Well, you mean the engine that comes in first will be the engine they buy?
That's exactly what it amounts to. The engine that brings victory to the manufacturer will also bring it an order for enough engines to keep its plant busy for 2 years.
Right. George, Chief, that really means something.
Well, that isn't all. You realize, of course, how business has been the last couple of years.
It just hasn't been in it.
It's cost us a lot of money to develop this Monsoon 800. And, Bill, if we don't get that airline order, well, we'll just have to close our doors.
Is it really that bad?
I'm sorry, Bill, but it is. There's no use closing our eyes to the situation.
Well, I can see only one answer to that, Chief. Our pilot absolutely has to win the Vanderpool Cup.
It's a tough spot for this young Allen. In fact, the situation is so grave that I don't want him to know all the facts. It might affect his flying. He gets to worrying about it.
But is he the pilot for us, E.J.? You know, it seems to me that in a situation as critical as this, we ought to have an older man. A pilot with more experience. After all, this Jimmie Allen is just a kid with little or no racing experience that I know of.
I realize that. To be quite frank, I know very little about him myself. When we couldn't get Speed Robertson, I asked him to recommend a pilot who could get every last foot of speed out of our ship. And he wired back that he considered Allen capable of handling the job.
Speed Robertson ought to know. If he says a pilot will give us his very best. Let's say, Chief, you don't suppose... well, what I mean is that Speed Robertson is out to win this race himself.
I know what you're getting at, Bill. Oh, don't ever think that. Speed Robertson is as fine and true a friend as I've ever had. And he's honest and sincere. A square shooter there ever was one. If he says Jimmie Allen can do the job, well, that's good enough for me.
I hope he's right. But say, who's flying this Mercury mystery ship?
Well, now there's something that worries me. I understand they've hired Wings Wagner to fly it.
Wings Wagner? He nearly beat out Speed Robertson in the race last year, didn't he?
Right. Wagner's a good pilot. In fact, Speed Robertson's the only man that ever could beat him.
I'll say he's a good pilot. Nobody ever questioned that.
Yeah, but that isn't all, Bill. I don't like Wagner. Never have. I don't like that shifty look in his eye. And there's another thing I don't like about him.
What's that, E.J.?
I don't like the idea of his flying that mystery ship. Wagner will do anything to win a race.
And the Mercury crowd wouldn't ask any questions either.
It's a bad combination. They want to win the race the worst way. And believe me, Wings would just soon win it the worst way as the right way.
Well, I'll tell you right now that whoever wins this race will know he's been through a battle.
Yeah. Speed Robertson had better keep his eyes open, because Wagner's out to get him this year.
What does he have against Speed, Chief? I mean, outside of being beaten by him.
Speed caught him in some crooked work in the race last year and threatened to give him a good thrashing if he ever caught him pulling any phony stuff again.
Yeah, and he'd do it, too.
Oh? Yeah, Thompson speaking. Oh, yeah, send him right in, please. Well, here's young Allen now. We'll have a chance to see what he looks like.
How do you do, sir? Are you Mr. Thompson?
Yes. You must be Jimmie Allen. Well, I'm glad to have you here, Allen. Let me introduce our chief engineer, Bill Whitehead.
I'm glad to meet you, Mr. Whitehead.
I'm glad to know you, Allen.
Take this chair here, Allen.
Thank you, sir.
We don't have much time to visit, but I guess you're rather anxious to get a look at the ship.
Yes, Mr. Thompson, I am. From what Speed Robertson tells me, it's a wonderful airplane with a powerful new engine you people have developed.
We think we have a good ship. We hope we found a good pilot.
Mr. Thompson, I'm anxious to fly your ship in the Vanderpool Cup race. In fact, I've never wanted anything more in my life. But on the other hand, I'm a stranger to you. And I want you to understand that I don't consider myself in the same class as Speed Robertson and some of those other racing pilots. I haven't had the experience they've had.
You mean that you feel a little hesitant about flying our ship?
No, sir, I don't mean that. I can fly the job, and I'll get everything out of it that's possible. But I don't want you to be under the impression that I'm, well, an old hand at this game.
Well, we understand from Mr. Robertson that your experience in racing has been limited.
Allen, have you had much time on high-powered racing ships?
No, I haven't, Mr. Whitehead. Speed Robertson taught me to fly and showed me how to navigate. He let me put in a few hours on his new Bluebird racer.
This is a tough race, Allen. You're up against the best pilots in the country and the fastest airplanes. Your inability to fly in a little bad weather or a small error in navigation might cost you the race.
I realize that, sir. But the same holds true for the other pilots.
We confidently believe that we have the best job that'll go to the starting line. Our engine is rugged and has a world of power, and monsoon engines have always been famed for their reliability. Mr. Allen, we want you to fly a fair and square race, but the Monsoon 800 has got to win.
Mr. Thompson, I can't make any promises about winning a race. Too many things can happen between the start and the finish. But I can promise you two things. I'll work day and night and give you everything I have.
Well, that's all anyone can expect. What's the other promise?
That I'll fly a fair and square race. If I can't win that way, I don't want to win at all.
Well, that's the way I like to hear you talk. It's a bargain. Now, I want you to go out and look over the ship. You'll find Rags Johnson, your mechanic, working on it now. Bill, have one of the boys taking Allen out the ship.
Okay, Chief.
Thanks, Mr. Thompson.
Harry, show Mr. Allen here out to a race job, will you?
Yes, sir.
What do you think of our young pilot, Bill?
I like that kid. I like the way he looks you straight in the eye. Chief, I'm putting my money on Jimmie Allen to come through. Well, it looks as though Jimmie has taken on a man-sized job. Can he handle the powerful Monsoon 800 racing ship? Join us in the next air adventure of Jimmie Allen.
This program has come to you through the facilities of the World Broadcasting System.